individuals, Adam van Koeverden, you'll say, well, he's here, but why is he not competing? And I think the answer is fairly simple. He's concentrating on other things this year. But let's see who we've got today, who's going to run. Max Hoff in lane 6. In the first rounds, he was looking pretty top. We've got Ali Urania, who Max beat by just a length, say, last week. 22 years from Belarus, he's looking good. And then we got Rennie Holton-Poulsen, who's been looking very good in the heats and the 500s in the last couple of weeks. So it should be Kenny Wallace also, who he won the 500s last week in Szeged. In the 1000s, he went off like a rocket in his red rocket and didn't do anything. There's Josta Zakwasek. If it gets really bumpy, he could be good because he's very good in the white water conditions. And so yeah, pretty open field in my view. Apart from Max, what about yourself?
Well, it is an open field, and you see a lot of names that have been in the sport for a long time, which speaks to their experience. So anything can happen when you've got experienced athletes of this nature over 1,000 meters. They're very tactical and take advantage of the conditions, and you never know what they're saving to use on what day. It's a long season. Well,
there's Rennie. He's a carpenter, by the way, by trade, but he spends most of his time clearly working out and training. He was in Florida as usual at the beginning of the season, and he gets around a lot. There's Kenny in his red rocket, and as I say, he's been over here a couple of weeks now. He's going to be here for the season. I think there's only 4 Australians over here this year. And there's Max Hoff, who, as I say, he won last week in great style, and he was fairly much cruising the way. Again, he's from a whitewater background, so he could be pretty at ease in the choppy water.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's coming straight from behind them, and I think that won't have much effect here except speed up the times and make for a tighter finish at the end.
Best time in the world, 3 minutes 22.485 by Max Hoff in 2011. So it's probably not going to get that fast, but we could get a reasonable time.
Mm-hmm. Poulsen off nice and fast there, it looks like.
Ali Urania in your picture. He's been around 3 or 4 years now. Hasn't quite got to the top. He's won a couple of Gold Cups, but hasn't actually deceived a lot of himself probably in the Olympics this year. But apart from that, he should be. He's only 5th in the Olympics.
See Ben Fooey over there in lane 2. I always think back many years ago when he won his gold medal in the K1000 at one time through a fantastic come-from-behind victory. So he likes to be very paced, and who knows, he's certainly back now, and we'll see if he can rocket to the front.
Well, that's in 2003, but he's been competing for the last 11 years. He actually quoted last night, he said, with Max on form, there's no way we can get near him, but I'm dreaming, and I didn't realise I'd get to the final. I have done so. I'm very happy. But at the moment, we're approaching fairly close to halfway, and there's a line of 1, 2, 3, 4 who are always looking very, very good at the moment. And we've got Marko Tomicevic from Serbia, who's had some good results, and he's in it as well. But the big 4 at the moment are pulling ahead of the field, aren't they?
Well, they're pulling ahead and keeping an eye on each other, just staying nice and relaxed and trying to be very technical through the middle of the race. And it's really about who has the most in that last 200 meters.
At the moment, as I say, we've seen in the last couple of weeks, Rennie Holton-Poulsen, he does put down a mark, doesn't he? He does go out and say, catch me if you can, and he's also got a fast finish. But coming through the halfway mark, and it's still there's three of them in it, and Tomicevic is possibly falling back a little bit. The others are maybe pacing themselves, but with Mr. Poulsen is looking good.
Well, clearly any of those 3 front runners could win this race, and they all look very relaxed, very technically strong. Good stroke rates here too, moving the boats nicely.
300 meters to go, and Yusil, it's very tactical. They'll know each other inside out, clearly, won't they?
Well, that's it. They race against each other all the time, and for many years now, so they know who makes a move where. So that's the tactical side of it, and making sure that you don't show your cards too soon. But again, first year in a new quadrennial, sometimes people try new race plans.
And last year we had Rennie Poulsen. He was good at the beginning of the World Cup season. Yes, he won in Poznan for the first race, and so he has a tendency to go well early. But I'd still at this stage. Well, I'm not a technical, so I can't think what's going to go on. But my money would be on Max.
Well, he races nicely from behind, so we'll see here what happens in this last 200 meters.
And at the Olympics, if he kept the same pace for in fact, he did keep the same pace for all his 4 split times, but the last 50 meters there was extraordinary, wasn't it? But it's coming now to the action part, about 120 meters to go.
No one's going to catch Poulsen here now.
Well, there you go. It looks like we can announce now the winner is going to be Rennie Holton-Poulsen, 24 years old, from Denmark.
Looking very much in control there. A little look to his left to see who's moving on him and how much he has to go in this last 100 meters.
Well, there you go, 40 metres to go, and in the end, Kenny's flying back. He could even take the second place. Well, there you go. Bernie Holton-Paulson smiles for the camera. Second, Ali Urania, and third, it looks like Kenny Wallace with Max Hoff in fourth position.
Yeah, he really faded there in the last 100 metres. He looked like he was in control before that, but just didn't have enough left in the tank in that last that finishing sequence.
There's a happy man.
Strong from start to finish, though. Good race for him.
Is it extra more difficult to motivate yourself when you're national set up for obviously, if you look at the Hungarians and the Germans, and even the Canadians to some extent, you've got quite a big base, but in some nations there's only 3 or 4 athletes competing. Does that mean they closely go with other nations, or do they just have to fight it out for themselves? Or?
A lot of these guys now are training amongst themselves as international training groups, multinational training groups, and they're all friends. And Adam Van Coverden's a great example of that. I think he's going to go off with Anders Gustafsson to Sweden to train next week. So again, they find ways to get the intensity in training.
And Anders Gustafsson, he was down to compete last week, but he had a bit of a chest infection, which probably took him a few days to get over. But